When good things are happening to someone, you know the saying, you must be living right. Well, throw that out the door when it comes to Jameis Winston and Florida State. The most hated team in college football wins again. They pull through in the clutch. Did they get lucky? Maybe. Did they come through in the clutch? Definitely. This team doesn't lose. They just don't lose. Florida State 30, Miami 26. The Canes came and they came to play. They were at home. The crowd was psyched. Yes, there was a crowd there in Miami, mostly pro-Miami, and the Canes jumped out 16-0. They jumped out 23-7, but Florida State, again, like Louisville, trailing 21-0, coming back to win that one by 11. And i.e. Notre Dame, when it looked like the Irish had thrown the winning touchdown that got called back, Florida State somehow finds a way. They survive. They get a tipped pass for a touchdown in a critical moment when they were down by 13 points. Carlos Williams on the deflection for the touchdown. It just kind of landed in his hands in stride as he went in for the touchdown that got within 6 points of Miami. Dalvin Cook, let's highlight this kid. So he was the #1 rated running back coming out of high school. He was recruited by Florida State. He was recruited by every major power in college football, but it came down to Florida State. He had shunned Miami. He's from Miami. This has to hurt them. He is an emerging talent. We talked about him after the Louisville game. He's just a special player. He's a unique back. Just 4 or 5 guys in the land can cut on a dime like him, shift, go side to side, and then get up to almost full speed instantly. 7 carries for 92 yards. He had the game clincher, 26-yard touchdown with 3 minutes left to play. And Jameis Winston, again, he was shut down in the first half, had a bad first half, 74 yards passing for him. He was trying to put points on the board late in the first half, but he threw into double coverage as the safety came over and picked him off inside the 5-yard line. So Jameis Winston, 74 yards in the first half and 7 points on the board. Well, second half, 25 of 42 for the game, and he threw for 304 when it was all said and done and had his 26th consecutive victory for this football team. On the Miami side, we have to talk about Brad Kaaya. This kid is going to be a star. Check out our video post previewing Miami, Florida State when we talk to SB Nation's Cam Underwood, because he really does a nice job of breaking down Kaaya's development from the opener against Louisville. We're talking about a freshman here. The opener against Louisville, where he played reasonably well, but he made some poor decisions in key moments, and his development to tonight. He's going to be a star. 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He doesn't have a cannon, but he has a strong arm, and he is very poised and makes the right decisions and can throw it on a dime. Duke Johnson, he's a great player. 27 carries for $130, and he was difficult for Florida State to stop as they gave up over 300 yards total offense in the first half. But the Noles, we talked about Jameis Winston coming through in the second half, but it's the Florida State defense as well. And what about their place kicker? He's a weapon. Roberto Aguayo, again, coming through with plus 50-yard kicks in the clutch. Okay, here's the setup for Florida State. This is probably the last major hurdle. Boston College will play tough. They will come. They will be technically sound. They will be fundamentally sound. They will play a strong game, but Boston College cannot keep up with Florida State, although BC, of course, last season with Chase Reddick, with Andre Williams, gave Florida State their best regular season game at 48-34 and led it 17-3. But again, BC shouldn't be much of a challenge. Florida in the finale. I'm interested to see this game. Yes, Florida's not great. They lost again today to South Carolina in overtime. But Florida, we saw the damage that they did in the run game against Georgia a couple weeks ago, the #2 ranked rush defense in the SEC, over 400 yards with Jones and Taylor. I don't know, Florida, give them a puncher's chance in this one against Florida State this year. It's not going to be the 37-7 game. I doubt it's going to be the 37-7 game it was in 2013. And then what about the ACC Championship? And this is the big problem I have, if you've heard me before, with the scheduling in the big conferences. The conferences that have like 14 teams, SEC, Big Ten, ACC. So Miami was eliminated with this loss. They are 3-3 in the division. They might be the best team in this division. The Coastal Division is going to come down to Georgia Tech, which won a huge game over Clemson today, 28-9. Georgia Tech finishes the conference season at 6-2. Duke is 4-2, so they've got 2 games remaining while Georgia Tech's in the clubhouse. Duke, 4-2, takes on North Carolina and Wake Forest. They will be heavy favorites in those 2 games, despite losing today to Virginia Tech at home by 1 point. So Duke played Syracuse and Wake in the other division. Georgia Tech, they also did not have to play Louisville or Florida State. So the main competitors for Miami for this division championship, neither one had to play Florida State. Miami always plays Florida State. Miami also had to play Louisville, a team at 5-3 in the conference, one of the top teams in the conference. Again, neither Duke nor Georgia Tech had to play Louisville or Florida State. That's just a decided advantage. I don't know if we're scheduling to determine the very best team in these divisions when there are 14-team conferences playing 8 conference games, so you miss 5 opponents, and the discrepancy in schedule is huge. Regardless, this is what it looks like for Florida State once again. BC, Florida, then an ACC Championship game, most likely against Duke. If they run the table against North Carolina and Wake, they finish at 6-2, and Duke would have a head-to-head with a 31-25 win over Georgia Tech. Otherwise, if the Blue Devils stumble, then it would be Georgia Tech taking on Florida State. Otherwise, the Noles have probably cleared their last big hurdle. Again, I'm going to mark the Florida game as an interesting one that I would like to see the Gators show up and play. Would love to hear what you have to say about Florida State, about Miami as well as they develop. Despite the 6-4 record, this is a team that's coming. They are on the way. Would love to hear from you on Mark Rogers TV.